why don't you tell us what happened?
Okay. 1977, January 25th. I got up as I usually do, and I went to Peoria Junior High School. And upon entering the school, the principal directed me to the conference room, the teacher's conference room. And there I met with two detectives who began asking me questions about the death of James Robinson Jr. and Connie Cooper. James was a friend of mine. He also went to school there at Peoria Junior High. And I didn't know how I could help him, but they seemed to think I could help him because I was the last person to see them alive on January 17th. That was outside of their family members. And they wanted to know what details did I remember about January 17th, and I told them the things that we'd done that day after leaving school. And they kept asking me would I come to the police station with them. During the initial conversation, I told them I did not want to talk to them, because I just didn't like police officers at that time, because the community where I grew up. So they convinced me to go to the police station with them. While there, they placed me in an interrogation room. They said I was free to go at any time, but every time I asked could I go home, they wouldn't let me go home. The questioning, I think what really made it go south is that a black detective named Charles Cannon came into the room, and he had some problems with my dad growing up. They didn't get along with each other. And my response to him was, in front of those white officers, was, I don't want to talk to that nigga. And from that moment on, it seemed like, I don't know, it just seemed like everything just went south. They just kept me there. They wouldn't let me leave. They wouldn't let me talk to my dad. They wouldn't let me do nothing, So I ended up leaving at like 10:30, 11:30 at night. They asked me would I take a polygraph test. So I went to the polygraph examiner's office, and his name was Mr. Jenkins. He did about an hour and a half, 2-hour polygraph test, and it was inconclusive. They couldn't discern what was taking place because the facts of the case really wasn't in yet. So they took me from there to juvenile detention center. From there, they placed me in custody, held me overnight, came back the next day and got me on January 26th. And they began questioning me all over again. Now, mind you, I haven't eaten yet either. It took another turn and went south when they asked me to come into the police washroom where they stripped me naked and took hairs from all parts of my body and took my clothing. And the more they done, the more I was confused. I really didn't know what was happening to me. And I think at about 10 o'clock, they allowed me to see my dad. But by that time, it was so chaotic around there that him and I couldn't communicate because he didn't understand why I was there, and I didn't understand why I was there, and all that happened was just a bunch of yelling. So at that point, I didn't really care anymore. I just wanted to go home. So I began to just, when they would question me, I just tell them anything, say anything, agree to anything. Finally, about 7:30 that night, they took me to the polygraph examiner's office again. I'm tired, I'm ready to go. This polygraph examiner name was Ed Bowers. He was became a member of the Peoria Police Department. He began, in the middle of the testing, he began calling me a liar, a murderer, just everything negative he could think of. And the testing stopped, and I didn't no longer want to talk to him anymore. So tears rolled down my face, and this other detective came in. His name was Officer Marcella Brown. She came in as the good cop, I guess. And she began to word me along as like a confession. But everything she said, we wasn't in agreement with it. So that kind of upset her a little bit because I didn't know what she was talking about. She would ask me, did the crime take place over here? Did it take place? I said, I don't know. And about 30 seconds, that's all it took. And I said that, okay, I did it. Can I go home? And when I said that, it like changed everything. Because from that point, they asked me, would I sign a confession? Could we do a written confession? And I refused. And that only made her more angry. But I managed somehow to regain my composure and get my will back. Because I had lost my will because it was like a nightmare. It wasn't real. I kept telling myself, this just can't be real. It was bad enough my friend James was gone. But here I am sitting here accused of his murder and the murder of his sister. And that's like, I thought I was like in a nightmare. I just couldn't understand what was happening to me.